My name is Kiati. I'm head of Joshi Advocates. Thank you very much for joining us in this YouTube video. 3 ways to bring a child in the UK. The child is overseas. Now, before we begin, let's just allow me to quickly address a lot of queries in respect of this end of free movement. Thank you very much to Bola and Rotimi. Yes, end of free movement, if it happens end of October, it's only relevant to those who are outside the UK, either EA national or their family members, and are seeking to come in the UK in November. So if you're in the UK, you're a European national, or you're a family member of European national, you have residence card, or you have permanent residence, it does not affect you. So please don't worry. Right, let's begin. 3 ways for a child to come in the UK. First is where a parent is a EA national. Second is where the parent is a refugee or has humanitarian protection, known as HP. Or 3, where the parent is British or settled in the UK. Now, let's just deal with the EA parent first. The parent is the EA national. The child is under 21 years of age. The application is an EA family permit application. Online, it's free. And the documentary evidence is a relationship status, so the birth certificate of the child to show that the EA national is a parent, child's passport, EA national's passport, and documents to show that the parent is in communication with the child, communication record, the parent is working in the UK, payslips, the parent is living in the UK, so council tax bills, tenancy agreements, and things like that. Application is free online. The second is where the parent is on asylum and has been granted refugee status or has been granted HP, humanitarian protection. This is where the child is under 18 and was born before the parent was granted refugee status. The application is family reunion. It is again free and it's made online. And the documentary evidence would be again the birth certificate, passport of the parent, or other ID for refugee status or HP status endorsed by the Home Office, and the child's birth certificate and the child's passport or any ID the child might have. Also the TB certificate to make sure the child is healthy. Right, now where the child is where the parent is British or settled. There are a few requirements in this application, and the key things to note are as follows. The parent is either British or settled living in the UK. The parent usually would have sole responsibility of the child's upbringing, and the child is overseas. The child is under 18. The parent has to show sole responsibility of the child in terms of making all decisions regarding the child's upbringing, welfare, education, health, disciplining. The parent would have to show this by way of documentary evidence. A, that the parent in the UK who's British or settled has sole responsibility, so information regards the father. Information regards who the child is being looked after when the parent is in the UK, and why that care arrangement cannot continue, with documentary evidence. In this application, there isn't a financial requirement, so the parent isn't required to show that a particular amount of earnings needs to be made. No, it's just the parent would have to show they are not relying on public funds, and will not rely on public funds if the child were to come in the UK. So the parent would have to show employment or self-employment documentary evidence to show their income is at a particular level, and they would not claim benefits, and they should not be on public funds when they make the application, because a parent would say in the application, I would not recourse to public funds to maintain and accommodate the child when the child comes in the UK. Now, the parent in the UK most likely is sending money, so we would need the money transfer receipts. We would also need communication record between the parent and the child, and the parent and the person who's looking after the child. We would also need the parents' documents to show living in the UK, tenancy agreements, bills, P60s, payslips, bank statements. We would also need to show that the other parent isn't around, or we don't know the whereabouts. if that's the case. If that is not the case, other parent is around, again, documentary evidence would have to be provided as to why the care arrangement cannot continue. Usually in this case, these kind of cases, the child overseas is being looked after by a guardian, a sister, a cousin, a grandparent, and so on. Now, the application fee is, Home Office application fees, 1,523, that's 1,523, plus 1,200, 1,200 immigration health surcharge fee per applicant. Right. Now, the last way where, say, the sole responsibility aspect isn't met or isn't strong enough to meet by way of documentary evidence, however, if the child were to continue remaining overseas without the parent going there, and the child will suffer harm or any exceptional circumstances which would make the child's exclusion from the UK undesirable. Again, the threshold for this aspect is very high. So don't just easily put it in the application. Put it in with documentary evidence that if the child isn't going to come in the UK, the child would suffer from A, B, C, D. So that is all the ways how a child can come in the UK. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for joining. As always, feel free to contact me, details below, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.